Peace, shalom. This is Yeshaya Yisrael. First and foremost, giving honor and praise unto Yah, the creator of heaven and earth. Now, one of the things I wanted to go over briefly is the fact that the children of Israel was in the land of Egypt. Okay, and we're speaking in this particular case, um, this being in the Egyptian timeline, being the 27th dynasty of Egypt, when the people of the Persians were ruling in Egypt. Now, I wanted to sit there and show a map concerning this type of situation right here. All right, so that way we can all gain an understanding of what in the world we were talking about. Now, we spoke in part one of this concerning the people in Elephantine Island. Now, I wanted to show somewhat of a clearer map to show exactly where we are speaking of geographically, okay? Now, this here is what they refer to as Upper Egypt. We went over this in part one being Peteret or Patros, right? This here is Elephantine Island. This is by the first cataract. The cataracts, the numbers, the further south you go, the higher the number of the cataracts. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 5. All right, so now Elephantine Island is right there. This here being the Red Sea. So if you go further west, you're even going deeper into Egypt itself and thus deeper into the continent of Africa. So now, as we read in Jeremiah chapter 44, it speaks about the people of the Israelites being in the land of Egypt. So now that shows you another issue, but not to stray from the subject matter, that the children of Israel in their own accord did not migrate over into the European countries. They migrated on their own accord to places in further Western Asia and into what is referred to as Northern and deeper south into Africa itself. Okay, now, and that's confirmed even within the scriptures and external references. Wanted to go over a particular subject concerning this matter right now. We spoke about the Israelites that was over and what they refer to as the Elephantine Island, right? This here, brothers and sisters, is a picture of part of the papyri. Now, mind you, the papyri is the plural of the word papyrus. And this here is dated to the 5th century BCE. So when anybody try to sit there and ask, well, can you show us any references of Israelite writing prior to 300 BC? You can show them the papyrus of Elephantine Island. Also, you can show them the thing called the Siloam inscription, as well as what is referred to as the Lachish letters. So now, that just goes to show you that sometimes people just want to latch on to something for debate purposes without any foundation and understanding to their logic. No offense intended. Now, we're going to go over a reference book. It's entitled Hebrewisms of West Africa by Joseph Williams. We're going to read a couple of excerpts from this on page 269. All right, we're going to come scholarly with this. It says this: James Henry Breasted, who, by the way, is respected inside of the Kemetic community, the conscious community, what have you. James Henry Breasted, speaking of an Aramaic letter, which was written by a Hebrew colony in Egypt to the Persian governor in Palestine in the 5th century BC, thus describes it. This remarkable letter was discovered in 1907, with some other similar papers lying at the ruins of Elephantine in Upper Egypt. Here lived a community of some 600 to 700 Hebrews. Some of them had probably migrated to Egypt before Nebuchadnezzar destroyed Jerusalem. So what we're doing right now, brothers and sisters, is showing cross references. We showed a map from the Atlas of Egypt. We showed biblically where this was. Now, Patros in Jeremiah 44 is located where Elephantine Island is. Patros in the Bible is referred to as Peteret in the Egyptian culture or in the Egyptian language. You understand? Let's move on. They had built a temple to Jahwe, which is to say Yah, the Most High, on the banks of the Nile. This letter tells how the jealous Egyptian priests formed a mob, burned the Hebrew temple, and plundered it of its gold and silver vessels. Thereupon the whole Hebrew community sat down in mourning, and for 3 years they tried in vain to secure permission to rebuild. Now, if we've been following along, this is speaking about, as stated, from what is referred to as the 27th dynasty of Egypt. Dynasty 27 is when the Persian people were ruling after Cyrus' son, named Cambyses, attacked the land of Egypt itself, all right, in 525 BCE. So now this is speaking about a time a little before that. Thereupon the whole Hebrew community sat down in mourning, and for 3 days they tried in vain to secure permission to rebuild. Then, in 407 BC, their leaders wrote this letter to Begoas, the Persian governor of Egypt, to permit them to rebuild their ruined temple. They offered by name two persons in Palestine who are also mentioned in the Old Testament. Now, when it says they're mentioned about names in the Old Testament, you can refer to the book of Nehemiah, because this is also during the same era of Nehemiah in the Tanakh or in the Bible of the same time frame. We're talking the 5th century BCE. All right, so let that be known and understood. Now, historically, you had it to where Babylon came up as a world power in the 11th dynasty of the Chaldean people in Babylon under Nabopolassar. Then his son Nebuchadnezzar took over. Nebuchadnezzar is recorded in the Bible as well as in other records as taking over the land of Carchemish. Carchemish, in that time prior to Nebuchadnezzar taking over it, was ruled by the Egyptians. So when it says in the Bible in 2 Kings chapter 24 verse 7 that the king of Babylon, that the king of Egypt did not further advance, for the king of Babylon had taken all the lands that belonged to the king of Egypt. That's in 2 Kings 24 verse 7. That's talking about actually when you look upon a biblical map, the land of Carchemish, because you had Egypt in that particular time frame, they were going through the 26th dynasty. So the pharaohs such as Necho or Necho II, he wasn't able to go and challenge against the army of Nebuchadnezzar because the Babylonians, in today's terminology, was doing what they do. They was taking it over, so to speak, the known political world at that time. Babylon, a little prior to that time, mind you, took over the Assyrians themselves. You understand? Because you had the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal II, and he lost his civilization and kingdom in the year 612 or 609 BCE to the Babylonians and the Medes, which formulated together against the Assyrians. Now, getting back into this, Babylon fell to the king Cyrus II in the year 539 or 538 BCE. So that just goes to show you, by the time Cyrus' son, which is Cambyses, comes in 525, he is now dealing with the situation of having Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt under his subjection. All right. All of this shows you world history and how it all connects. All right. And in the world at that time, we do read and understand about a people called the children of Israel, or the B'nai Yisrael, called by different names by other people. A lot of times you would have it to where in certain historical books that's not quote unquote biblically sound, they try to sit there and call and group the Israelites all together under the title of the Palestine, or the people of the Palestine people. That can be alluded to the fact that when Hadrian of Rome took over Jerusalem in 135 AD, he called that particular land Palestine in honor of the Philistines who was there to try to wipe away the memory of the children of Israel being there. You understand? Which goes back into the Israelite record of Psalms, the 83rd chapter, where it says they hold crafty converse, saying, let us cut the name of Israel off, that it may be no more in remembrance. So is it the same thing that they've done with this so-called conscious community, where they try to sit there and take the name of Israel off so it'll be no more in remembrance. But as we see, blessed be the Most High, their plan is not working. Okay, so now getting back into this portion right here, Hebrewisms of West Africa, concerning the Israelites that was in Elephantine Island. We read this on page 270. Of this same Hebrew colony, George Barton writes this: numerous papyri found in 1895 at Elephantine and Island at the first cataract of the Nile reveal the existence of a Jewish community there. So this just goes to show you right here that the writings that a lot of people speak, well, where is the Israelite artifacts or where is the Israelite writings, such forth and so on. You can read about the papyri of the Elephantine Island. All right? So let that be known and understood. And as stated, Patros in Jeremiah 44 is inclusive of the land that we read of and called Elephantine Island. Now, getting back into this portion right here, brothers and sisters, I'd like to go into a secular reference book. It's called The Ancient Near East, edited by James Pritchard. We're going to go to page 278 and read just a small excerpt from it so that way some understanding can be gleaned. Didn't want to read the entire passage to not bore people and not make people feel like, oh, here we go, mundane and so forth. Because the scriptures teach overbearing speech becometh not a churl. So therefore, all you got to do sometimes is just gather your information together, blessed be the Most High, present your matter, because the people are either going to feel what you're saying or not feel what you're saying. They're either going to agree with what you're saying or not agree with what you're saying. They're either going to check out what you're saying or they're not going to care to do anything about what you're saying. All right? So therefore now, getting into this book here, The Ancient Near East, on page 278, page 278, it says this: Letter of the Jews in Elephantine, the Passover Papyrus. A very defective strip of papyrus, with writing on both sides. Date 419 BCE. To my brethren Yedoniah and his colleagues, the Jewish garrison, your brother Canania, the welfare of my brothers, may God seek at all times. Now this year, the 5th year of King Darius, word was sent from the king to Sames, saying, authorize a festival of unleavened bread for the Jewish garrison. So you do count 14 days from the month of Nisan and observe the Passover. And from the 15th to the 21st day of Nisan, observe the feast of unleavened bread. Now, what that is talking about is what the Israelites was doing in the land of Egypt and what they refer to as keeping and observing the Passover. Brothers and sisters, Passover is not a European celebration. Passover is a Hebrew celebration. Passover is not a Kemetic celebration. Passover is a Hebrew celebration. So the fact that the Bible speaks about Passover and the fact, brothers and sisters, you got external references speaking about Israelites observing the Passover dated to 419 BCE, which means that it dated before the Greeks or the white man came to power in the world, just goes to show you that the culture of the Hebrews is not of the Europeans, neither is it of the Africans. The culture of the Hebrews comes from the Most High God. You understand? So let that be known and understood. So with that, I like to say shalom, and hopefully everyone gains some understanding from this. Alrighty, shalom once again. Peace.